This is the Battle of Appbach, game called What Went Wrong, the 0700 turn, the first turn. And most of the activities are governed by a card draw, standard playing cards, except the first activation goes to the ARVN side, and it's equal to one die roll, 10-sided dice, divided by 2. So we rolled a 6, so that gives us 3 activations. So any activation applies to one unit, and that unit can either move or fire. A unit can move up to 2 areas, or fire at either an adjacent area or at the same area. Now, movement comes with the risk of opportunity fire by the enemy. So, for instance, if this unit were to move here, he could be subjected to opportunity fire by the enemy unit here, if the enemy unit wanted to. In this case, these guys are all concealed. It's a chance that they may want to avoid giving their position away, just to give some opportunity fire. We have 3 activations, so 3 units we can move ahead. This thing looks like a hornet's nest. I know there's only really one place where we have to move, and that's into this area 37 because we need to protect that artillery support unit. So we're going to move a unit here. I think my tweezers are going to be very much help. These are large counters. Now we could be fired upon by this stack here, but taking the hat of the NLF player, I'm going to leave them concealed because I want to maximize their defense factor. And then I can also, in addition to moving or firing infantry, I can either call in ARVN artillery missions or ARVN airstrikes. Now in the first turn, I rolled for artillery and airstrikes and ended up with 0 airstrikes but 5 artillery missions. So for my second activation, I think I'm going to fire some artillery. The only thing I take that back, I don't think I'm allowed to, since I moved my ground unit. If I read the rule correctly, I can either perform up to 2 artillery strikes for an entire activation phase in place of moving or activating infantry units. So since I already moved my infantry, I'm just going to continue on that path. Move 2 units there, and then I have 1 more activation. Got the civil guard here. I'm going to move them into that area. So that's my first activation. Now we'll resume sort of normal operations, which is to draw cards. So the first card is a red 5, which every card draw, the value of the card is divided by 2, fractions dropped, and that's the number of activations the side gets. So this means the NLF gets 2 activations. Now we could move, or we could fire, or I suppose we could do nothing. I'm tempted to want to wait and let the ARVN come to me and maximize my defensive potential before I start to fire on them. So I think I'm going to do nothing. I think nothing is permitted. So we'll draw the next card here. Well, it's a red 2, so that would be 1 activity and 1 activation for the NLF. But again, I'm gonna wait for the ARVN to come at me. Well, I'm drawing a lot of red cards here. That's a 3. Now we have a black 6. So divided by 2, that gives me 3 activations again. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and call in my artillery strikes now. I have 5 artillery missions available. So I'm going to go ahead and put the first one here. Now all artillery strikes have to be declared before they're resolved, and it's permitted to strike the same area twice, but it's a little awkward. I only have 1 artillery strike counter, so I can actually only mark 1 at a time. I suppose I could, this is print and play, I suppose I could just print another artillery strike counter and put it out there, but for the short term I'm just going to use the back of another counter here. If only I had blank counter. No, I'll reuse one here. So I'm going to put 2 counters here to indicate I'm going to strike that guy twice. So the way artillery works is it's kind of an area fire. So you fire at the area, and that's achieved by drawing a card. So basically we draw a card. It's a 4. Then we subtract the area defense from the value. So we end up with a 2. And then we compare that number to the defense factor of our target. Now additionally, the concealed marker provides another -1 to the card value. So we're down to a 1, which I know there are no units in the game that have a 1 defense factor. So the idea is that the final value has to exceed the defense factor to cause a casualty. Now technically I have to choose one of these units to target. Since they're concealed, I don't know how I would know which to target, but I'm going to target the heavy weapons for the hell of it. There are 3, so I missed. But I have another artillery strike. I'm going to make that one now on the same target. So I draw a card. It's a face card, it's a jack. I don't know what that means actually. Well, I'm going to make a command decision after a quick check of Consum World and decide that they're a 10. So I think I'm going to get a hit on my guy here. So I get a 10 -2 -1 for the CD, or concealment rather. So that's going to be well ahead of my target. So I will reduce that heavy weapons unit. So that uses 2 of my artillery missions, and I only have 3 more remaining for the entire turn. I'll also conclude my activation phase. So I will draw another card and continue. Okay. So I drew a joker, and the joker basically is the end of turn indicator. Either you get through all the cards miraculously, or you draw the joker. The only time the joker doesn't take effect is if you draw it before each side has a chance to activate. So that means our turn is over. Well, that's the randomness of the joker, I suppose. So we will perform our end of turn checks, which is basically checking victory conditions, adjusting the morale, NLF resistance or ARVN morale based on any casualties incurred, and then that'll just be the end of the turn. Since the turn really ended so quickly, and we played the NLF so cautiously, we actually didn't affect the morale of either side at all. So, kind of a drag. We left a bunch of artillery missions out there, but that's how it goes. So that'll be the end of the first turn. That's just barely coming into contact with the ARVN forces, and a little bit of artillery thrown down on the NLF. So now we'll move on to the second turn, which will be the 0900 turn.